Oh, hi, I am Marty Peters.
My name's Jeff Christ.
Yeah.
And you're in?
The band Marty Peters and the Party Meters.
What's the worst song request you actually tried to play?
Ah! Oh, man. Well, I've got to go through the old roster for that. That's a deep folder of poor requests.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of, like, living and, like, playing these kinds of gigs is that you get all manner of all kinds of requests all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there was one... Oh, man.
I'm just gonna say Take 5 right off the bat is one that pretty consistently you get. It's like somebody just Googled most popular jazz songs and then to pick the first one.
Exactly.
Right?
It's the total like jazz, like the guys who wanna seem like they know what they're talking about and obviously have only listened to the most famous. Or not the most famous, but the most best-selling jazz album of all time, right? Like probably that and Kind of Blue, and they they like Take 5 better and whatever. Yeah, that one's pretty rough.
Wait, have you actually tried to play that then?
Oh yeah. Oh, we play that all the time. Well, you know, it's
money in the tip jar, baby.
Tip jar, and it is one of the few, like, I think jazz composed tunes that a lot of people know. You know, like in terms of like the jazz material that's out there, a lot of it that people know is standards written from the songbook that were written by songwriters. Right. Take 5 is one that was actually written by a jazz artist himself, and that's kind of a little rare, on the rarer side, I'd say. But yeah, no, I don't know. I think like one time, what was it? I tried to pull off some pop tune, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it went terribly. And I couldn't, the problem was I didn't even know the melody well enough to know where the lyrics were placed, or how the song's form went. Right. And so, like, when that happens, then you just gotta kind of roll with it and make a joke out of it. Right. Right? Because if you don't really know what's happening or what's going on, first of all, if you're uncomfortable at all, the audience is immediately going to know it and pick up on it. And the last thing you want is your audience to see you in a compromised state. So if you start to feel like unsure of where you are and what you're doing, especially in the context of playing a song outside of your wheelhouse, then you just make it into a joke. And I'd start just making up lyrics or be funny about it, or just be like, anybody wants to help me out here? Like, sing along? I'm telling you what the song goes. You got it. I usually point to the guy who's got made the request. And like, take it, man.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good move for sure. Definitely some pop tunes that I've attempted to pull off. Tennessee Whiskey springs to mind. That didn't really go very well.
Leave that to the bourbon truck.
They got it under control.
He's got it sorted. Oh, like a good request? Oh, there's actually a fair number of those too. Like where like people come down and they know the New Orleans material, or like they're fans of the music, and sometimes they'll pick like really cool tunes that are like a little deeper cut that are actually fun to play. Yeah, for sure. And you're like, oh heck yeah, man! Yeah. Like I'll take it.
Just like the other night, those guys requested Potato Head Blues.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. That's right. And they were, I think, weren't they like music teachers or something?
Yeah.
Or like something like that.
They were in band together in high school.
Oh, that was it. Yeah. So it's usually those requests do oftentimes come from either musicians or people who work in the field, but sometimes they're just fans of the music, and they'll come and they'll request some like a beautiful ballad that is actually really nice that you happen to also know, but you never get those requests.
It's once in a while you get a request for Stardust, which is a beautiful, beautiful tune, one that you can't typically pull out on a bar gig.
Right. That's the other nice thing about it, is that sometimes those cool requests give you the license to do pull out tunes that oftentimes, like you said, they don't gel well with the scene, like the scene you're in. For instance, playing in a loud bar where you want to be pumping out like high energy
I do think though the number one best request is here's $100, play your favorite tune.
Yeah, play your favorite tune. I love it.
That's almost, for me, it's almost too much pressure.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, what is my favorite
Which
tune?
one's my favorite?
Name a song.
I gotta really find the favorite.
Yeah, right.
Like, I gotta work for it. Yeah,
I have that same thought every time, and then the same realization, which is, they have no idea what's my favorite tunes. I gotta just play whatever.
Yeah, wait a minute. I can play whatever I want to
like
play.
a flashback to like a pop quiz in grade school.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like, oh crap,
Right.
what is it?
But then they find out it's a whatever answer you want.
Yeah, right.
Like,
red, no blue.
Yeah, exactly. In a way, like a really nice, genuinely nice request.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like on the like, it's funny sometimes when I get that, my first reaction is actually a little bit of like an eye roll, like, what a lazy request.
Yeah, right.
Just as an initial like, oh, you're gonna make me do the work to find a tune, but then immediately after, I'm like, actually, that's like the sweetest thing he could have said. Like, what a nice gesture, to like support the music and have the musician pick something that they love to play. I'm like, that's actually really, really sweet. But it's funny how like working the grind can cause these reactions when you're doing the volume of work that we're doing.
You're there in the moment, and you've got a thing going on, and as much as a good request, can be really nice. It is still disrupting what you're trying to do.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
So you have that initial like, oh shit, I'm stumbling.
When you're curating a set to be to build in certain areas and go in a certain direction, you're right. Yeah, a request can be a monkey wrench. It also can take a bit of a load off occasionally too, right? Where like sometimes you don't know like what direction you're going or like what is the next tune gonna be, and then a request's like great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to worry about it. We're playing that. There it is. Money in the jar. Yeah,
right.
You got it, buddy. Let's do it.
Yeah, great. I mean, and that's, we've had those experiences too. We'll look at like a late night set, not many people, and one of those groups are trad jazz fans.
Yeah.
And so their requests are Ain't Misbehavin' and then Basin Street, and then you go, oh, I know how to cater this set.
Yeah, right. Like, I got it from here.
Right, yeah, here we go. All right, now we'll hit All of Me and Honeysuckle Rose and Bourbon Street Bridge.
Give them all the
hits. We got the hits.
We got the hits. Yeah, totally. And and it can be also like playing requests aside from the bonus of making a little extra bread. It's also a nice way to connect with your audience and find something that is going to make at least somebody really happy that night. And find a way to which in the end of the day is the whole point of what we do.
Right.
Anyway, right, is connecting with people.
Yeah, totally.
Even with bad requests,
right?
It's like there's you have to respect the fact that they're making an effort to connect with the band and and they're connected with the music in some way rather than just staring at their French fries,
Right.
And they also have to accept it. Sometimes I'm gonna say,
well,
that's a terrible request.
Well, we say.
Wait, can I swear on this podcast?
I'll believe it was something funny.
Okay, all right. Can it be one of those old-time car horns? Like,
well, we say when people request Freebird, Marty.
Yeah.
No charge.
That's it. There was a middle finger up for that. Let the record show.
That is the highest form of podcast comedy, is explaining what happened.
For all you audience members out there in Radioland.
Oh my God. When you're dealing with somebody that's like being disruptive, whether it be like requesting something bad or just being obnoxious, you have like a go-to strategy for dealing with them?
There's, I feel like there's a couple strategies for diffusing those situations. Like, number one is always diffuse. You don't want to escalate because you have to gauge every situation is different, and usually it involves someone being drunk. Like real drunk.
Oh yeah.
And thinking they're part of the show and they're being funny, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like the one of the elements of performing in these venues is that like you always want to be at least seeming to be in control of every situation. The minute the band leader seems out of control of the situation is you're going to lose the room and it's very hard to get it back.
Yeah.
And because nobody wants to feel uneasy. And the minute you feel uneasy, they're going to feel uneasy.
Yeah.
And then nobody who wants to be there, right? So if there's someone being disruptive, you have to find a way to diffuse a situation. Usually the way that works best for me is shining a spotlight on that person.
Mm-hmm.
You have the power of the microphone, right?
Yeah.
You're dictating and directing the entire energy of and focus of the room. So if someone's trying to be disruptive, usually just looking directly at them and putting a spotlight on them and making everybody else look at them is enough for most people to fold like Superman on laundry day.
Yeah,
you know, and like, you know, like that they'll walk away.
Yeah, use the social pressure of the room.
Right, and in a way that keeps the audience on your side. So you don't want to be like mean.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to be mean-spirited or like put someone down or tell them to get the hell out of here.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But you want to just put the onus on them to have to respond or find a way out of the situation now that they're in. You flip the tables on them to expose them.
Exactly. You take away their anonymity.
Yeah.
Right. And then they're forced to reassess their own actions.
Right.
It's like honestly a lot like teaching.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Sure.
But I think also the other thing we should discuss on this point is the people that don't know that they're being disruptive, right? The people that are unaware, they're just screaming.
That's the word. That's the toughest to deal with. Yeah, and yeah.
So I told her, this is what I said.
You know, it's like, oh my God. If you see more than 6 Michelob Ultras on the table, you know it's going to be a roller coaster, and like, you know, it's going to be well. I was telling you about that. I had that 2 weeks ago. I was playing at a gig at a bar. It was you know, a 4-hour set, 4-hour gig, and it's a small room, and in one of these small spaces, it's very difficult. Like if you can in a small space, it's easy to make it a listening room if you can capture even just like a few people at a time.
Yeah.
Their attention and their focus, and then eventually, very quickly, you can get the whole room
to snowball effect.
It snowballs. The only way that doesn't work is if there's a table or a group that's directly in front of the band that is completely oblivious to what's happening, and then you'll never capture the room.
Right.
Because they'll anchor, their distraction is so central to what you're doing that you can't work around. There's no way to work around.
Right.
I think also an issue with that venue is the lack of a stage.
Right.
But you know, with a stage, it gives you a bit more of a commanding presence.
Right. Well, and not only that, but the tables are tall.
The tables are tall, so
like
you're
backwards.
literally visually blocked.
Yeah.
But anyway, regardless, a couple weeks ago, that exact thing happened. It was a group of 6 or 7. That, you know, look, I get it. Like you go into a bar to have fun. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. And you know, honestly, even if you come to my gig and you kind of want to talk and you want the music in the background, I don't have a problem with that either. Yeah. But don't sit directly in front of the band. Go to the back. There's room near the bar. There's room in the back area where if you want to sit and talk, you can. You're right. It's the people who are oblivious that are the most difficult, because you can't. You know, trying to garner their attention with carrots doesn't work. And then if you try to use a stick. Then you lose your audience. Like you never turn on your audience, right? That's like an old school rule.
Number 1.
From way back when. You never turn on your audience. And when that happens, it can be incredibly frustrating, because there's very few tools at your disposal, and you know, there's only a few performers I've seen who've been able to effectively wield like tools to grab someone's attention, and usually they are, you know, they present themselves from the onset as being either incredibly like edgy, you know, so that like when they walk up to the line or even sometimes tip their toe across it, nobody bats an eye. It's like, oh, it's a kind of edgy show. The guy's like, he's a little bit of a loose cannon. Still funny. But just you have to deal with it aggressively. And directly. And in a way that, you know, there's very few guys who can really effectively pull that off.
Right. It's, you know, there's a couple of strategies that I've employed with various degrees of efficacy. I would say the first one, the softer approach, is tune choice, right? You know, for example, Bare Necessities is a card that can be pulled out in a situation like that may turn some people that, you know, it's reasonable to assume, I think, that those people don't really care too much about the music. right?
Right,
You know what I mean?
sure. Yeah,
so hit them with something recognizable that might turn them around.
You hit them with a nostalgia bomb.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Well, that's the power of that tune too, and tunes like it. I think a lot of what's funny is like so many guys I know like kind of roll their eyes at these songs, when in reality they're well constructed tunes.
Mm-hmm.
They're one of very few songs that are recognizable by a wide group of people that's relatively within the genre that we play.
Mm-hmm.
If you want, and like you said, it can be an effective tool to pull an audience towards you by throwing something that they're going to know.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, even if people don't listen to New Orleans music, right, on a regular basis,
right,
they're going to come here and they're going to be like wowed to like listen to all this cool stuff that they've probably never heard before, but they've never heard it before. There is an importance in having some songs that people are going to recognize, you know?
For sure.
Who wants to go to their favorite band and hear all the new material? I mean, it's like there's a power in the nostalgia and in the ability to recognize the music that you're listening to and relate to it.
Yeah. I would argue that pretty much everyone millennials on, even probably to an extent Gen X, that movie, The Jungle Book, was their first introduction to this style of music.
Yeah, sure. Or Baby on Board from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Yes. That's just you. That's just you.
No,
it's just
there are millions of us. We are legion. There are times when it's like, look, my entire night is going to suffer, both financially, musically, my energy level, my ability to perform and do my show is being fucked up by this group sitting directly in front of the band. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna use what limited tools I have to try to get them to either move or just go to a sports bar. I don't understand when people are like that. Like they're that drunk and they just want to go and scream and drink and have a good time. Why would you go to a bar with live entertainment? Go to a bar where every other jabroni is sitting there drinking Jaeger bombs or whatever people drink these days like that. And like just go do that there. Like you don't need to be disrupting.
Sir, have you heard of Bourbon Street?
Yeah, right. It's half a block that way. Holy shit! Like an entire bar, an entire scene catering to.
That's the whole point.
Assholes like you is just around the corner. Good golly. When a group of people is that drunk and that rowdy, they're probably not taking care of their bartender in many cases. And they're buying the cheapest shit or waters at the bar. Right. So the bar's not going to make any money. Yeah. You're not going to make any money. Yeah. And on top of it, you're just going to have a miserable fucking time trying to get the whole thing going.
And I think that's really the crux of it, right? Is that all that other stuff aside, it ruins what you're trying to do and the whole reason you came there. Yeah. You know?
For everybody. And for the people trying to listen.
Yes.
I just, I very much value, the art of what we do as trying to entertain people and work with people. And I will give anyone a chance, who comes in and wants to be respectful and even, even if they want to have, there's two kinds of energy on a gig. There's like good energy and bad energy. Yeah. And like drunk people can sometimes be really good energy. Yeah. Like, you can have people who are getting toasty and they are into it, man. Right. And sometimes that can be your biggest power booster for the evening is having like a table that's just like just clapping after every solo, cheering you on, like loving the tunes, up and dancing or something, to a reasonable degree, right? But that's real response, that's real energy that's being given back to you, and it's so much appreciated. It's the negative energy, and you can get negative energy from sober people too.
Oh yeah.
Like you can get sober people in there who are just they don't want anything to do, like they're having an awful time. Yeah. No matter how hard you throw, it's like, hey, let's have some fun, right? You're in New Orleans, like we're here to play some music for you. That's fun music. Like there's just always going to be people who are just, The
most puzzling to me are the people that sit there like this. And for the podcast, I'm sitting with my arms folded. It looks like I'm really pissed off and glaring. And then you come around with the tip jar, and they buy CDs.
They love it,
and they loved it, and it's like, good Lord, I've been stressing about the whole set, looking at how disapproving you look. And it turns out you loved it. I guess they're just old. And that's
sometimes
the thing, right?
the whole audience could be that way.
Yeah,
like,
right,
you'd be playing like to a whole crowd of people that are just, they barely even emote a response at all to what you're doing. And then you come around the tip jar and like, this is the greatest show I've ever seen in my life.
You're like, you guys, fooled me, buddy.
This is the most fantastic band I've ever witnessed in my life. You're like, what? Are you the same guy who was like glowering at me? Like, I thought it was like a,
I hate to see a band you hate. Jesus, what does your face look like then?
They probably cheered. Oh, I was just putting on an act for them.
Have you ever been an audience member and like a band member does that to you and you're like, oh shit?
No.
Are you just trying not to incriminate yourselves? Or?
No. I think as a musician, you know how to listen to music, like and you gain that understanding of what it's like to be on that stage. And like when I go to shows, I've definitely been rowdy at shows. Like I remember like, all right, one time I remember like it was New Year's Eve. And I just tried Four Loko for the first time. I think I was like 21 or something. God. And they had just made it illegal. It was becoming illegal in New York that day for New Year's Day. So I found a bodega with two of them like in the back. And I was like, oh man, this is going to be illegal like tomorrow. I better like try it, The next thing I remember, I'm just in front of this funk band in this crowded room, just directly in front of the trombone player, just going, yes! Yes! He's like pointing two fingers right at him, like, yes! And like, you can tell he's just like looking at his buddy like, the fuck is going on?
Right.
Yeah, that was probably...
Who is this guy?
Who is this guy? Exactly. I was their number one fan. Like, but I still consider that in the realm of annoying, but good energy. I wasn't trying to be,
I think the only time I've ever stepped a toe in that is intentionally to a friend's band to mess with them, But even then, you, as somebody who has handled bad audience members, you know how far you can go.
You don't
you're
want to
really disrupting the game.
Yeah, you don't want to like throw them off too bad, but it is kind of funny
to poke them a little.
Yeah, just say like, hey,
Hey, you guys know this song is kind of obscure. It's called The Saints. Something like that.
Right. No, they usually if you're a good band leader, man, you can play with that.
Yeah, right.
Because you know the guy. Yeah. Like if you know the guy, then you can play off it a bit. Just be like, sir, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, right.
Like exactly. Something like really mean, and you'll have the whole audience going like, oh, and then you're like, you laugh about it, and it diffuses the tension. But it's a funny way you can play with that interaction in a way that benefits you. That can make your show even more intriguing.
You're like enticing them to do a bit with you.
Yeah. And some people, you got to do it to the right person too, right? It's like some people just don't. Some performers don't like that at all.
Yeah,
and, you know those guys, and you know the guys you can poke around with and the guys you can't. You want sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. This has been Marty and Jeff talking to you live. Marty Peters' house for the podcast.
Next week, Marty, I hear we have an interesting guest coming in. Yeah.
Is that right? Who is it?
I thought you did.
Oh dear. Well, we'll have to get on that anyway.
Till next time, everyone.